Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving straight into the recent cryptocurrency news, pulling the most critical developments and trends from our sources at Crypto.news. The idea is to give you a clear understanding of what's happening and, well, why it might matter to you.
And right off the bat, what really jumps out is just the sea of red across the crypto market.
Hmm.
Major players like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, they're all down.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing even sharper drops for coins like Solana and a whole bunch of meme coins, Pepe, Bonk.
Yeah, quite a bit of red.
Yeah. This level of volatility, it really tells a story, about the forces currently at play.
Absolutely. It's like a snapshot of a market reacting to some pretty significant pressures. Okay, so let's try and unpack what might be behind this widespread downturn.
Well, one headline that immediately catches your eye is BTCC, ETH XRP prices crash as NASDAQ major indices plunge. This points pretty clearly to that connection that's becoming, well, increasingly obvious.
Right.
The way traditional financial markets and the crypto space influence each other. When the NASDAQ and, the big indices take a hit, it's almost expected now to see a knock-on effect in crypto.
It's definitely not the isolated digital island it maybe once seemed, is it?
Not at all.
And that link, it feels reinforced by the crypto fear and greed index, dropping way down to 25. That signals extreme fear. The report suggests that recent tariff announcements are creating uncertainty, and that anxiety just seems to be spilling over.
Exactly. That anxiety affects the crypto market too.
Okay.
So, yeah, global economic concerns are definitely casting a shadow.
Yeah, you could see it.
Precisely. When there's uncertainty in traditional markets, investors tend to get more cautious, right? They move away from assets seen as riskier.
And crypto often falls into that bucket.
Often does, yeah. But even, within this broader downturn, we're still seeing some interesting individual developments. Let's maybe start by looking at Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, yeah, still the bellwether.
Yeah.
It's currently sitting around $82,144, down about, 4.3%.
Mhm.
But even with that price dip, there's some intriguing news floating around. Like, MRA's mining pool apparently saw a big jump in Bitcoin production and rewards back in March. That seems like a positive signal for the infrastructure, right? The stuff supporting Bitcoin.
It is, yeah. It shows that the underlying network, the mining operations, they can keep performing strongly even when the price is fluctuating. And then you've got Jack Dorsey's Square still working on enabling Bitcoin payments.
Oh, right.
This points to those ongoing efforts to make Bitcoin more, well, usable for everyday transactions.
Yeah.
Pushing towards that broader mainstream adoption.
And it's not just, smaller tech companies. We saw that Japanese gaming firm, Enish, made its first big Bitcoin purchase close to $680,000 worth. That feels like a notable nod from a totally different sector. What does that tell you?
Well, what's interesting there is it kind of suggests a diversification trend beyond just the usual financial institutions. You're seeing companies from different industries starting to see potential in holding Bitcoin, maybe as a treasury asset, or looking at how to integrate it. And here's where it gets really interesting. At the sort of intersection of different worlds, the Trump family is reportedly getting into Bitcoin mining.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, with NR7 Miner mentioned as a key option for cloud mining. That's definitely a headline that grabs your attention, doesn't it? Politics and tech colliding.
It absolutely does. You can't ignore those kinds of connections. And speaking of potential shifts in maybe market mood, Bitcoin ETFs actually saw inflows picking up ahead of Trump's Liberation Day.
Interesting.
Could that suggest some investors were maybe anticipating a more favorable environment after those announcements, despite that initial wave of fear?
That's a really good question. ETF flows often do reflect investor sentiment, right? So a move back into Bitcoin ETFs could mean some investors see a buying opportunity in the dip, or maybe they're betting on a future rebound.
Right.
And adding to that, you have NASDAQ Q-listed fat brands now accepting Bitcoin for franchise payments.
Another step into real-world use.
Exactly. Another clear step towards Bitcoin becoming integrated into everyday commerce, but on a larger scale this time.
It really feels like we're seeing more and more established businesses at least exploring this. And for individual investors, it might get even easier soon. CME is planning to launch Bitcoin spot-quoted futures aimed at retail investors. What exactly does that mean for someone just looking to get some exposure?
It could definitely broaden access. It offers a regulated way for retail investors to participate in Bitcoin's price movements without needing to directly hold the cryptocurrency itself. These futures contracts, they essentially track the current spot price of Bitcoin.
Ah, okay. So simpler access, regulated.
Pretty much. Now, shifting focus a little, let's look at Ethereum.
Okay, Ethereum, currently priced around $779.34, down about 5.5%. One thing that stood out to me was that Ethereum apparently had the highest trading volume on DeSX's decentralized exchanges back in March,
Hmm.
even though the price of ETH itself dropped quite a bit in the first quarter. That seems counterintuitive. What's going on there?
Well, what's fascinating there is it really highlights the continued strength and activity within Ethereum's DeFi ecosystem, decentralized finance. Right. These DXs, they're platforms where you trade crypto directly, peer-to-peer, no central middleman. So the high trading volume on Ethereum-based Xs, even with a price drop for ETH itself, indicates that the underlying activity, the apps, the trading, it's still very robust.
So the network is still busy, regardless of the token price at that moment.
Exactly. And separately, there was this news about an early participant in Ethereum's original ICO, the initial coin offering.
Yeah.
They deposited a substantial amount, like $3 million worth of ETH, into Binance.
Wow, after
Yeah.
all this time.
Yeah. So it raises that question, after holding on to that much ETH for so long, what might their strategy be now?
It definitely makes you wonder, could be finally taking profits, or maybe reinvesting somewhere else in crypto.
Could be either, yeah. Now, let's talk about XRP. It's trading around $2, down almost 6%. The news there seems really focused on Ripple's new stablecoin, RLUSD.
Right, the stablecoin.
Yes. So while the XRP price itself might be under some pressure, Kraken adding RLUSD and Ripple integrating it into their payments platform, that's a significant development.
Hmm.
Ripple is essentially bringing this USD-backed stablecoin into their system to boost the utility of their payment solutions. Looks like a strategic move, leveraging the stability of a fiat-pegged asset within their ecosystem.
So even if the XRP token price is shaky, Ripple itself is focusing on expanding its offerings and, real-world applications.
Seems like it.
We also saw that the XORPad EXP presale managed to raise over 60,000 XRP. That shows there's still interest in projects being built on the XRP ledger.
Definitely an ongoing interest there.
Now, Solana had a much bigger drop, didn't it? Down over 10% to around $114.41. And interestingly, the news we have doesn't really give a specific reason for that sharp fall.
That's right. And when you don't have specific negative news tied to it, a drop of that size could just be broader market sentiment hitting what people see as riskier altcoins harder.
Or maybe something unreported yet.
Or potentially something unreported, exactly. It's just a stark reminder of the volatility inherent in these assets.
Yeah.
And that volatility gets even more pronounced when we turn to the meme coins.
Ah, yes. The meme coins. Pepe, Bonk, Dog with Hat, Popcat, all seeing those double-digit percentage drops. Pepe down over 11%, Bonk over 13%.
Dog with hat over 12%.
And Popcat taking the biggest hit, nearly 16% down. That's quite a ride.
It certainly is. Meme coins are notorious for high speculation, right? Often driven by social media hype, online communities.
Honestly.
So when the overall market turns down, these types of assets, they tend to be among the first and the hardest hit as sentiment just shifts really rapidly.
Makes sense.
And speaking of dramatic drops, Pikecoin reportedly crashed by nearly 80%.
80%. Wow.
Yeah, that's a massive correction. What does that kind of drop suggest about a project like that?
It really raises some serious questions about the underlying value, the stability of the project, doesn't it? Okay, moving beyond individual coins for a sec. There's a lot of other noteworthy stuff happening. The Lazarus Group, a pretty well-known hacking group,
Unfortunately.
they allegedly made a substantial profit, like $2.51 million, by selling WBTC. That's wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum. That immediately brings security concerns right back to the forefront.
Absolutely. These instances of illicit activity hacks, they continue to be a major concern for the crypto space. And this just serves as another reminder of the constant need for better security, more vigilance.
Yeah. And on the regulatory side, OFAC, part of the U.S. Treasury, sanctioned some crypto addresses linked to Russia's Garantex. The aim was to disrupt financing for the Houthis.
Right.
This really shows governments stepping up efforts to monitor and, well, regulate the use of crypto for illegal activities.
It's clear regulatory bodies are watching closely, but we're also seeing some potentially really transformative uses of blockchain tech emerging too, like the Aptos Foundation investing in Universal Health Token.
Oh, yeah, for decentralized healthcare.
Exactly. Aiming to advance decentralized healthcare solutions. That's a significant move beyond just the typical financial use cases we talk about.
It really is. It highlights that potential for blockchain to tackle real-world problems in different sectors, maybe improving data security, accessibility in healthcare.
Definitely. And then following some controversy around wallet security, Bybit, the exchange, partnered with Zodiac Custody, which is backed by Standard Chartered,
For secure custody, right.
yeah, for secure custody solutions. This just underscores how important secure, reliable custodial services are becoming, especially for exchanges dealing with institutional clients.
Trust and security, they're absolutely critical with digital assets. On a more positive note for specific projects, the price of stake stones surged 20% after getting listed on several exchanges.
Ah, the listing bump.
Yeah, it really shows the impact that exchange availability can have on a token's market value, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Exchange listings can massively boost a token's liquidity, its visibility to more investors,
Uh-huh.
often leads to increased demand and, well, price appreciation.
Right.
We also saw Binance launch the second round of their vote to list thing,
Oh, yeah.
and that apparently resulted in price rallies for tokens like BTG Time, UXL Link, and IP. It's interesting to see how these community-driven listing mechanisms can influence the market for smaller altcoins.
It gives the community a degree of influence, which is kind of a noteworthy trend in itself.
Hmm.
In terms of broader regulatory stuff, Nigeria's president signed a new law that officially classifies cryptocurrencies as securities.
That's big.
Yeah, that's a major step in defining the rules for digital assets in Africa's largest economy.
It really signifies a formal recognition and integration of crypto within Nigeria's financial framework.
Mm-hmm.
Could have significant long-term implications for adoption, innovation, regulation in the region, maybe even set a precedent for other African nations. Meanwhile, Russia's central bank is reportedly thinking about delaying the launch of its CDDC, their central bank digital currency,
Oh, why is that?
citing challenges with migration, implementation,
Yeah.
maybe pushing it to mid-2026.
Mm.
It just highlights how complex it actually is to set up and roll out these national digital currencies.
Yeah, clearly not a simple task, even for established institutions. Shifting gears slightly, there is news that former U.S. President Trump invited El Salvador's President Bukele to the White House.
Hmm.
Now, given El Salvador's whole Bitcoin as legal tender thing, this meeting could signal continued talks, maybe evolving views on national-level crypto adoption.
It certainly keeps that conversation about sovereign adoption alive, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And suggests that Bitcoin's role on the global economic stage is still being discussed at high political levels.
seems so. Back in the U.S., Fidelity, huge financial services firm, launched a zero-fee crypto IRA for U.S. investors.
Zero fee. Wow.
Yeah. Makes it more accessible for people to include digital assets in their retirement plans. That feels like another significant step towards more mainstream financial integration.
Absolutely. Lowering that cost barrier for retirement accounts could really attract a whole new group of investors.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of reinforcing this trend, a major survey found that 1 in 5 U.S. adults now use cryptocurrency.
1 in 5, that's substantial.
It really underscores that growing mainstream acceptance, integration into everyday financial lives here in the U.S.
Yeah.
As we touched on earlier with their stablecoin, Ripple also integrated RLUSD into its main payments platform, Ripple Payments. Again, expanding the practical use of that stablecoin.
So Ripple keeps pushing those real-world applications. In terms of regulatory news that might benefit the industry, Galaxy Digital got an FCA license in the UK.
Right, the Financial Conduct Authority.
Yeah, that's a big regulatory approval. Lets them expand operations in a key global financial market.
Definitely. Regulatory approvals like that are crucial for institutional players like Galaxy Digital. Gives them legitimacy, helps them reach more clients in well-regulated places.
Makes sense.
And finally, on the exchange front, Kraken partnered with British Clearbank for GBP clearing services. That should improve their operations, their efficiency in the UK market.
Good for them. And just as a sign of how things keep evolving, Hong Kong's Hashkey, a digital asset platform, is now apparently venturing into AI.
AI, interesting.
Yeah, with a new product hinting at AI agents. That's a fascinating crossover, isn't it? Crypto and AI.
It really points towards potential synergies,
Huh.
Convergence between crypto tech and artificial intelligence could lead to totally new, innovative applications and services down the line.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
You've definitely covered a lot of ground. So just to recap the key takeaways for everyone listening. The crypto market's currently seeing a significant downturn, and it seems influenced by broader trends in traditional finance and global economic uncertainty.
Mhm.
But despite that, we're still seeing continued progress in adoption, growing institutional interest, and ongoing tech development across lots of different cryptocurrencies.
Right.
We also noted that really high volatility with meme coins and newer projects, and of course, the ever present importance of regulations and security in this space.
Indeed. And that interconnectedness with traditional markets, this is a really key theme to keep in mind as you navigate all this.
Which brings us neatly to our final thought for you to consider. Given this increasing correlation we're seeing between crypto and traditional markets, how should your understanding of global economic events now factor into your perspective on crypto investments and just the digital asset space in general? What new questions does this growing interconnectedness raise for you about, well, the future of finance as a whole? It's definitely something to mull over as you continue exploring this dynamic and evolving landscape. Thanks for taking the deep dive with us.